Visiting cannabis cultivation facilities is a lot like visiting a brewery or a distillery. Once you get over the heady smell and you've been to a few of them, they all seem to be kind of the same, and you start to look for small differences. BeLeaf Medical facility here in Earth City, Missouri, is one of those places with lots of small differences. It was built 5 years ago, originally as a CBD hemp indoor grow facility, unusual for the Midwest, but it's only about 25,000 square feet, and only about half of that is used for grow. The other is for manufacturing, extraction, and the company's administrative offices for the other cultivation sites in the state, as well as their dispensaries. BeLeaf's Earth City grow site is located in a warehouse district that's curiously pretty, full of ponds and greenery. My tour was conducted by Cultivation Director Aaron Abrentis in the middle here, and new CEO Tom Muzzy on the right.
Okay. So this is where we root our clones at, deep plugs and rooting hormone. This is where the plants get their start. Usually takes about 2 weeks for them to develop roots, and then we will transplant them and move on over into this room. This is the next step where after the clones are rooted, we come in and put them in blocks of coconut core and just get them started here. So there's kind of a middle way between here and the vegetative room, which we'll go into next.
Where do you get your coconut core?
That's a good question with coronavirus. Prices are all over the place, and so is availability. It typically comes from Sri Lanka or India, but right now we're kind of having to bounce between suppliers based on availability.
BeLeaf has 2 other cannabis grow facilities, but Earth City was their first, opened for cannabis in January 2020 as soon as they got a license from the state. They opened so quickly because one of the partners was using the facility as a CBD hemp grow site, which works well for some things, but is a disadvantage for others when it comes to growing THC cannabis. What are some of the things that you might say that you would want different in here?
Well, in this particular space, or just
In general.
in general, well, it's really important that the veg area, like your clone area, your veg area, is sized appropriately to support the flower room. And right now, we've added flower space, which you'll see, and we don't have enough veg area to support. So you can see some plants that are not as healthy as we would like in this particular area, throughout the facility, because the timing is not sequenced properly, or the space is not sized appropriately to support, that next step. Mm-hmm. And it's just,
and you just have the one veg room.
We did,
right?
And that's, it's not enough space to see the flower space, the flower room. So, it was just what was here, and it was an opportunity to start, start cultivating. But in the long run, this is not an ideal facility, and we'll probably get into that later, what our plans are.
Another holdover from BeLeaf's old CBD facility, it doesn't have corridors between the veg and flower rooms. They just flow right into each other.
So this was the older flower room that was where we were growing hemp, and it's half empty right now because it was on a perpetual harvest system where we harvested one of these rows per week, and we're kind of finishing that out so that we can flower the entire room and harvest the entire room at once. That's another step to help with controlling pests and our ability to shut down the room and really clean and sterilize everything.
Part of what makes it hard right now is with the limited amount of flower, are people really being very selective yet, or is it just what you can get? So as as supply increases and people are able to be more selective and have more choice, I think that's when we'll really start seeing what the market wants, as opposed to, oh, there's flower there, let's get it.
BeLeaf does have a more advanced flowering room with automatic watering, dual levels, and efficient LED lighting. And they need the technology to help increase throughput, as BeLeaf operates 3 of Missouri's 23 certified grow facilities. The state has licensed 60, but only 1/3 of those are operating today.
Really everything was delayed for the most part across the board. we thought we would be much further ahead, 6 months, 8 months ago than what we were. People had funding issues. There wasn't this big glut of supply on the market, and people are like, "Oh, is that even a thing? Is it happening?" So I think that's really been the delay. People are interested in new products and participating in the program, but I just think there's a lack of education.
So, BeLeaf is thinking big, as evidenced by the size of their cure room, now mostly empty because they're just beginning a new grow cycle. But then there's also their manufacturing operations, run by Dr. Stephanie Cernisek, who has managed to cram an incredible amount of gear and people into a mere 5,000 square feet.
Distillate. We'll take them into this room, and we'll make all of our products. So we'll make our gummies in here, vape pens, tablets, mints, shatter. All those products are made in this room. We also have a batch right here. This is our tincture that's getting ready to be filled. So they're setting up for that as well. Over on the other side is our ovens. So that's where we'll make the shatter. That's where we'll decarboxylate any plant material that has to be decarboxylated. So in here, we've got 2 roto evaporators. We use those to remove alcohol. And then we have a white film distillation. So that's what we use to kind of purify and get the pure THC and distill it out. Machine is our hydrocarbon extraction machine. So we take that mesh stock that she was loading, we put it in this first column. It's got the little gray jacket around it. Then we put hydrocarbons on it, let it soak for a few minutes. Then we remove those hydrocarbons. It's all a closed loop system. And what we're left with is that crude oil from the plant. This is our CO2 extraction room. So right now we are in the middle of an extraction, so the machine's locked out, which is why it's fine to come in here. These 2 columns is where our plant material is. Right now it's doing a supercritical extraction, so it's under a high amount of pressure and a little bit of heat. What's going to happen is CO2 is going to come in here. It's a supercritical CO2, so the density is a little weird. But it collects all of those cannabinoids, travels through these tubes. We get to these expansion columns, and we're going to take that pressure back down to the normal level so that we can collect our cannabinoids in these cups, and our CO2 gas can go right back to the tank. So it's all closed to the system.
Helming one of Missouri's largest cannabis companies, one that's adding grow space, has manufacturing, and 5 dispensaries, CEO Tom Muzzy is optimistic about what's to come.
I think by the end of 21, there will be a full complement of products available around the state. As I mentioned, that we're going to be launching a non-alcoholic THC-infused beer.
What's that going to be called?
Mohi, M-O-H-I. Yeah, it's a great name, and it's put a really nice, attractive marketing plan together for it, and the beer tastes great. So that's important.
Less filling.
Less filling, yeah. So we're excited about that. We're working through that process. But I think by the end of 21, you'll be able to get pretty much on every shelf, any product that you would want if you're a card holder.